Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop, fresh off of our 2-1 victory over Sheffield. We're here for the pregame against FC Midtjylland out of the Danish side. I'm here with my main lads, Andrew and Mahomie, as always, with a very special guest. He's from the Beautiful Game podcast. We have Dej. Dej, how are we doing, brother? Thanks for coming on.
No problem whatsoever, man. Thanks for the intro. It's a pleasure to be here. I followed your work and I love the insight that you guys provide. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, we appreciate it. And, we were just gassing up the guests that you've had on your podcast. I mean, definitely great work that you guys are doing over there. If you haven't listened to The Beautiful Game, please go ahead and do so. I'm telling you, you'll love it right now. And while you're at it, go ahead and give us a subscribe and a like right now. We appreciate you all and loving our content. So thank you so much. But guys, second Champions League match already. I feel like we just played, and it's the season's flying by already. I mean, the fact that we're already in November is pretty crazy. But I have a lot of thoughts on this game. I have a lot of things I want to dive into. But hey, Dej, let's just start with you. Overall thoughts going into this game. What are you keeping an eye out for, and what are you hoping to get out of it?
Obviously, first and foremost, we need those 3 points. When you look at it in our group, FC Midtjylland, they should be the basement boys. We should be looking to get 6 points from them. I watched the first game against Atalanta. It was a 4-0 battering, and you're always going to get that one team in a group that probably isn't at the same quality as the other 2 or 3 teams. And I think this should provide like a welcome opportunity to maybe even rest some players. I'm looking for Klopp to maybe rest 2 of the front 3, rest 1 or 2 midfielders, and I think that should be enough to get the 3 points, in my opinion.
It's interesting you said that because that was one of the things that I had kind of circled as well. Is this seems like it's a pretty good opportunity, especially the fact that we're playing at Anfield. I think it might be a little different going to their stadium, not as nice as a field, all of that thing. But homie, what are your thoughts? Are you anticipating more of a rotation as well?
Yeah, I was expecting that, but then I think because he said today that Thiago, Keita, and Matip might not play, so I think he might be forced to have to play Hendo or one of Milner or maybe Ginny in the midfield, just because we don't have anyone else. But other than else, I think I agree with Deja. I think we should rotate the front 3, like play what we did last time. Minamino, play Jota, or maybe even give Origi a go, like bring him out from the closet.
No, we had him.
And then maybe we don't have much option in terms of dress and Trent. But
Nico
then
Williams
could play Nico Williams, and then just probably Matt's not fit. Then just go with Fabinho, and then have to play Robbo because I don't think Tsimikas is fit to play.
Even Milner could potentially come in and fit.
Yeah, he'd be good. Yeah, and then I wouldn't trust Adrian, so I'd play Alisson again.
Well, I also just think it's important though, just for Alisson, just to keep getting the reps and getting back into the swing of things. Because I mean, we even saw it last game. He did make a mistake back there, almost led to a goal. It was pretty shaky. But especially with the Man City game coming up, I think it's really important for him to get a couple games under his belt, get back. As much as fitness matters for a goalie, but he just needs to get the reps in there, get comfortable. Also, get comfortable with his new center back partnership. I think it's going to be really important that Alisson plays this game, even though it is against a lower level team. But Andrew, I know we don't know much about this Danish side, but what are you keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of hitting on what you guys said. I think Alisson definitely has to play just to keep him moving, and also I think that Fabinho and Gomez have to be our center backs. The one thing that's huge about center backs is their consistency and their chemistry between the two. There's a lot of communication in there, and they have very rarely played with one another. So I say just keep them playing any game possible. The more 90-minute matches that we can get with these guys, the better, just because that chemistry will just build and build and build. So I agree. I think maybe Milner should go in. Maybe Nico should go in. The midfield will be interesting. I think that he should probably go with the 4-2-3-1 again. I mean, what better time to continue to practice that formation than against a team like I can't pronounce the name Midtjylland. I don't know. I can't do it.
It's almost midget land. It's not quite that. It's almost that.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, I think it's a good opportunity to try out that 4-2-3-1 again and just keep practicing that against a team like this. I mean, no disrespect to them, but we should be able to get through it pretty easily.
I'm happy you brought that up because, Dej, I'd love to get your opinion on that. something that we've talked about a lot on this podcast is we did anticipate Liverpool going to a more 4-2-3-1, especially with the addition of Thiago. Last game was really the first time we saw it in a Premier League match this year. What are your thoughts on potentially going to a 4-2-3-1 formation going forwards compared to the 4-3-3 we've been typically playing?
4-2-3-1 allows us to get more forwards on the pitch. So in my opinion, Hotta coming to the club, it makes it a front four now, because before that, Origi wasn't live competition. But when you see Hotta, he's sort of like the prototype of a Klopp player, pressing fast, running hard, and, committed to the course. And even Pep Linders came out in a press conference and said, Hotta is a pressing monster.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you're right. This is probably a welcome opportunity to get Thiago, obviously when he's fit, in that double pivot position beside like a Jordan Henderson, now that Fabinho's set for extended role at centre-back. So it makes sense to get the players used to the differences that formation brings, because playing in a front three or a midfield three is a lot different to playing in a two. So, yeah, I think that provides a welcome opportunity.
Didn't Fabinho recently come out and say that he's preparing to play center back for the foreseeable future, but he's also really excited to have Thiago back in that midfield? The fact that our players are saying that, I can't wait for him to come back. He's going to take the league by storm. He really is.
Yeah, for me, he's like, go on. Sorry, Stephen.
No. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I think the 4-2-3-1, especially with the cast that we have around Thiago, it's literally meant for him and how he plays the game. Because like you said, Dej, like with Jota now, we have to start thinking about it as a front four, because he's already shown he's only played for us about 4 games. And it looks like he's been with the team like 2 years already. It's pretty remarkable how easy the transition has been for him so far. But then taking it a step further, I said it on the last episode, when you think about our bench players, the 4-2-3-1 is built for them too. A guy like Shaqiri has always excelled in the 4-2-3-1 formation. He is not, we won't have to rely on him to track back as much, which is, I think, other than his injuries, the main reason why he hasn't played that much. So I think a guy like him, Minamino, can now get subbed in for any of those front four as well. So, and even we haven't seen him yet because he's injured, but even a guy like Ox and Keita, I think those guys would get much more out of the 4-2-3-1, not having to track back as much and allow them to attack offensively. So I'm excited because I do think we're going to see a little bit more of a rotation. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Shaqiri start. Maybe even another guy like Curtis Jones to get some more minutes in there. This might be a good time for him to get some minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do with that lineup. But one thing I did want to ask you guys about is how concerned are you getting with Naby Keita? Because I felt like he should have been back in the squad already, and he's still, again, Klopp said he's not going to be playing this game. So how concerned are you short term and long term about Naby Keita's role in this squad? Well, I see you smiling, so don't want you.
Yeah, because I think I tweeted about this earlier because like COVID, he had COVID, right? And that's what he was diagnosed with over he tested positive for that. Then he got tested with that. Maybe just take him longer than expected to get over COVID, because Klopp did say last week he's been training well. So I don't think it's any muscle injury. I think just maybe they've just been cautious over COVID with him. So I think people are going a bit bored saying Keita's not unavailable. It's just COVID. I mean, he did play all the games, but he was fit. So I'm happy. I'd rather than be cautious and just give him some time, and then he's back for West Ham. And then it's fine. He doesn't need to play tomorrow. He's not. It's a game we can win without him. So I just feel guess he's been frustrated in the past, but I think I don't think Klopp's going to give up on him really now. And he is I think probably the junior replacement in the summer for Klopp. So he's not going to give him up on him just now. But he knows it's COVID. Give him time. But that's still my opinion. So I think people need to be patient with Keita. I get the frustrations, the fact that he's not kicked on as we expected him from Leipzig, and he's not, but I think he was unlucky with COVID. Blame internationalists for that rather than him.
Has he been training by himself?
I think, no, I don't know who's training by himself, but I do remember Klopp saying before the Ajax game that Kate's been training well, and he's looking impressive. So, he's just probably been training on his own maybe then. So yeah, I think, I don't know. I just think we need to be patient, maybe.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a little concerned about his injury record. I think that he needs to go an entire season and just get a string of games, at least making the bench. You know, he can't have one of these big time injuries again where he's out for a month or two. He needs consistency, and with this midfield now and with the addition of Thiago, it's even harder to get into that starting lineup. So I don't know. I mean, we spent what 55 million on him, 55 million pounds, something like that. He needs to make the squad. He needs to make the field.
Yeah, it's a sad one because Naby Keita, when he came to Liverpool, I was so excited. He's exactly what we needed. This is someone that I've watched at Salzburg, Leipzig, and his quality, the dribbling ability, beating 2-3 players. That's exactly what Liverpool's midfield needs. And as you mentioned, Andrew, I don't want it to become a stage where this midfield is leaving him behind because we're moving up in levels. Like you're not going to displace Thiago, Henderson. So you need to be playing games. But as we mentioned, we got to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's COVID. We're going through very uncertain times in the world. But yeah, it's been one injury too many. Like Keita is the type of player, he builds you up. I remember that rip-roaring goal against Chelsea. We'll think, wow, he's arrived. This is the Naby Keita. Yeah. Then he gets injured. So it's sort of like you pin all your hopes in him, then he lets you down. Sometimes maybe not for any fault of his own, but he needs to be available because Naby Keita, when he's fit, is a massive, massive asset to this Liverpool team.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me just add one thing. I agree with the addition of the 4-2-3-1 with Keita, Thiago, Henderson, all these different guys, Jota in the mix now. It is so hard for teams to prepare for Liverpool now. They don't know if they're going to see a 4-3-3. They don't know if they're going to see a 4-2-3-1. Is Jota going to be up top? Is Salah going to play them? There's all these different combinations that we can do now because our team is just that flexible. It must be a nightmare for like opposing managers.
100%. I mean, there's something else that we talk about a lot, but I mean, think about all the games that we've won this year. Has Trent had another game where he's whipped in 8, 9, 10 crosses? Like, I don't think we've seen that once this year. That is completely different than what he was doing last year. And it just shows that we can beat you a number of different ways. I mean, we can beat you from the long ball out of the back. If you want to cover Thiago in the midfield, then we'll just beat you with Robertson and Trent, Salah, Mane out wide. If you shut that down, then Thiago's going to have a freaking field day in the center of the park. So we are way more unpredictable and we're way harder to stop. And it's great to see. But the thing that I hate about Naby being injured right now is because I think this going from a 4-2-3-1, going to a 4-2-3-1, that's closer to what he was doing at these other clubs when he was at his best. So now that we finally are starting to play that model, and we saw it the 45 minutes with Thiago against Chelsea, that was really the best that we've seen Naby and Gini this year.
Yeah.
So just you add that guy in there, he just makes everybody better, and I think that's what's going to bring out the Naby that we saw at Leipzig and at Salzburg. Just a matter of can these guys stay healthy and get healthy. So that's one of the things I'm keeping an eye out for. But otherwise, in terms of our competition, obviously we don't know. I mean, truthfully, I don't know much about these guys. The only thing, and I think it's pretty consistent with the game against Sheffield, the only thing I'm concerned about is the potential set piece. And Gomez is still new to being a verbal leader. Fabinho is still new to being a verbal leader. Having Alisson behind them is going to help. But that's my only concern is if we can limit their free kicks, limit their corner, their corner kicks. As long as we can do that, I'm confident that we will steamroll these guys. I'm expecting to see a clean sheet out of this game.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I just had a look Google. I know they won the Danish league back to back, so that's probably why they, that's all I could see about them on Google. But Atlanta steamrolled them, so I don't think we should have, even our second team should be beating them comfortably. So for me, this is just like no disrespect to them, it's like a free match where we should be winning comfortably with our second team, getting the 3 points, and then looking to the Atlanta game, knowing that that's going to be the one that decides the group who wins that. So for me, I'll be disappointed if we don't get a clean sheet. And I expect a 3 or 4-0 win tomorrow, to be honest. And us to just win. I don't see why they should trouble us.
Yeah, I've seen them there. second in their league right now in the Danish league. They've got a winger called Sisto who I've followed. Like, he used to play for Celta Vigo. He's very tricky. He's quite quick. And Klopp came out in his press conference and said that, you know, they're a very physical side. So like when you look at obviously Van Dijk being out, that's a potential place where they could trouble us. But again, as we mentioned, I think they are going to be the whipping boys of this group. And I think our front three, front four will have too much, you know, for them on the night. So another thing I want is no injuries. I think we've had our fair share of those. So, you know, to come out of this game unscathed should be the biggest aim. And if we can win 2-3-0, that would be a bonus as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can get some goals early. I think we, you know, if we can get 1 or 2 goals in the first half, maybe one in the early second half, then you can bring on more subs and get Shaqiri some minutes, maybe Nico Williams, you know, some of these guys who haven't seen much playing time so far this year. I think that's part of the key as well.
What side does that winger play on, Dej?
He's versatile, so he drifts in and out. He's one of those ones that will be up against his man first 10, 15 minutes, pitch up on the other side, but he's very, very quick. But his end product at times can be, you know, leave a lot to be desired. But he's like a potential threat that I see in that side.
And if that's the case, I fully expect him to line up on Trent's side because it looks like Fabinho has kind of slid into Van Dijk's left center back spot. So I think it's no surprise that teams are going to try to attack that Trent Gomez side, and that's why I think Henderson or Milner is going to start in one of those pivot roles. Yeah,
reverse. Fabinho's on Trent's side.
Is he?
Yeah. Well, I think with it is. I think you notice a difference though is that Trent's been instructed not to go forward as much this season so far. If you watch him against Sheffield United, he wasn't going forward that much. I think he's been instructed to focus more on defending and leave Andy Robertson to be the one that's going forward. So
yeah,
I think there's been a tactical switch there to tell him, like, you know, just brush up the defensive side with Van Dijk not there, and then you still put the old cross in, but prioritize more defending rather than going as forward as much as you were before.
I wonder if that was due to the formation, though, because if you think about it, if Trent was getting forward like he usually would, then Henderson has a cover for him on the right, and then that leaves Gini very exposed in the central midfielder role. So I'm not sure if that's just based on the formation or, like you said, maybe other parts of the season he hasn't been getting very, very forward as well, maybe even since the Villa game. But I'm curious to see what happens this time.
Yeah. I feel like all season he hasn't, even from the start of the season, he hasn't been getting us forward as much. I mean, I said it earlier in the episode, like I don't remember one game this year where he's whipped in, 6, 7, 8 crosses. I feel like something was told. I think you're right, Wahomie. Something was told to him to stay more back on defense, and maybe that's help Salah get more involved too. I don't know, but there's definitely something going on there because I haven't seen him be this passive offensively. Pretty much since he's come up. I mean, Dej, what are your thoughts on that? Have you noticed that too with Trent?
Yeah, I've noticed that he's not been attacking as frequently, but maybe this is the next step in his development. He's received all the plaudits for attacking crosses, but the part of his game where fans or people can get onto him is defensively. So maybe Klopp's told him, you know what? You need to stay back for a bit, work on your craft so we can develop you as a player. Because what happens with youngsters is you can play them attackingly, then as years goes on, we don't see the development in his game. So this might be due to, making his game much more well-rounded. But I also think with Van Dijk being injured, there's going to be much more of an emphasis now for like those 2%. So Robbo and Trent drop off a bit. Midfield be much more protective because with Van Dijk in your team, you can take a lot more risk. And now it's all about gaining that confidence. We've lost our key lieutenant and working from there, in my opinion.
I think also you're noticing Salah's dropping back as well more to protect Trent. You saw that in the Sheffield United game. I think that's also instruction from him as well, like to offer more protection.
It could also be that teams are actually starting to defend the fullbacks more. I know Leeds United they man marked Robertson and Trent. So I mean maybe teams are just trying to limit that and say, hey, Liverpool, beat us another way if you can.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what we've just been missing with Thiago, because I think once that comes in, that he's really the missing jigsaw right now. Once he comes in, you can't do that against us. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. But more importantly, when you think about just the grand schemes of this game in the group, I mean, I think we all kind of agree that this team is definitely going to be last. The most important thing, though, that I think could end up deciding the group is who's going to slip up out of the other three teams and get a draw against these guys or potentially lose against these guys. So I just want to see us to go out there and, like you said, Andrew, get a goal early. Go out there, get a goal in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, make them come out a little bit more, because the longer this game stays tied, the better it is for them. And then at the end of the game, anything can happen at that point.
Well said. Yeah, I think that's why like the Ajax game was such a big win, because Ajax against Atalanta, I think that's going to be a really good match. And who knows, maybe they split that one. Maybe Ajax wins the first game, Atalanta wins the second. The key for me here is just for us to come out first in the group. I don't want to come out second. Who knows what the fan situation will be with the stadiums once the round of 16 kicks on. So, I mean, I want the home team. I want the number one spot.
I can't see Atalanta not being Ajax. I think they'll whip him because Ajax weren't that great against us, and Atalanta are a free scoring team. They are a threat, especially when we play them. They are going to be a threat, like height-wise and stuff, because of they're good in the air. So I expect them at home to whip Ajax. I don't think Ajax are that great. So I think like that game against us when we played them away. Thank God that Alisson's back for that, because I was dreading Adrian being in that game. But yeah, so that's going to be the decider. We can come away from that Atlanta game having not lost or even won that game, then we won the group. Because I think we'll be in Anfield. But technically, except for the Ajax game was the first time we won away in Champions League for a long, long time. So we'd have to be on the ball when we play them away, because we don't travel well in Italy as well.
Yeah, I want us to just get this over and done with as soon as possible. We've got like 15 games between now and the turn of the year. So if we can beat, Midtjylland, and obviously going away to Italy is going to be a tough one. And that's right before our City away game.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
The games have panned out, difficult. Ideally, you want Midtjylland back to back.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned before, I think Ajax, I think Atlanta can beat them away. I think they're very, very good. Last season, we saw them reach the quarterfinal under Gasparini. They play a very attractive brand of football. So, I think we'll finish first and Atlanta will finish second. But the main aim should be to get those 10 points as soon as possible so we can, think about other competitions.
No, I mean, you said it right there. I think that's the most important thing. Honestly, Atalanta still scares the shit out of me. Like I know we're the better team, but just how they play the game, especially going forwards and with no Van Dijk, it just scares the shit out of me, because again, another team that knows how to use their head to get a goal. They're really good in the air, and Fabinho and Gomez, it's just not their strength. They're not good in the air, and again, they're still getting used to having to be verbal leaders out there. So you find yourself slightly in the wrong position, and they can punish you for that. We obviously saw the amazing run they went on last year. Pretty spectacular stuff out of them. So I just don't want to give them any hope. And again, that's another game when we get to it. Like, we got to score early. But like Dej said, I think if we can come away, especially the fact that we play at Atlanta away first, if we can come in, get a win there, I'm confident that we can obviously get 3 points against, Midtjylland again, and then a draw out of those other games. That's all we need. And at that point, we can rest up. We can rotate those games. So it's definitely important to me that we get this win and then respond again. But I also just feel like we're playing with a chip on our shoulder right now. I think the one good thing about the Van Dijk injury is that everyone outside of Liverpool has started to say, like, the league's wide open. Liverpool's not going to be in the running for Champions League. And we needed some sort of chip on our shoulder after being champions and all of that. I think we play better when we have a little bit of an edge like that.
110%. I mean, as you mentioned, I think it's created sort of like a siege mentality. We saw like Wijnaldum come out in a press conference, say he's not happy with the challenge from Pickford. But that's what Klopp calls this Liverpool team, mentality monsters. And that's something that can dip into the hunger levels of the players and think, you know what, we're going to do this for Van Dijk. We feel aggrieved. We're not getting those decisions. We were cheated in the Merseyside derby.
Okay.
We've been beaten. So I think these are those little things that can ignite that fire in you And especially a team like Liverpool that play on emotion, that play on that high tempo, it can give you that extra 5 to 10%.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, do you guys feel that us not having Anfield in the Champions League is going to affect us? The Anfield crowd.
The lack of crowd?
Yeah, because in the past we got through rounds because of the Anfield crowd, because they came, teams would shit themselves and would absolutely pummel them because of the Anfield crowd. Without that, do you think that's going to affect us in terms of the Champions League? Because that was the key thing, like going away to Anfield.
Champions League and
fighting teams.
Outside of the in the group stage, I don't think it matters. But yeah, once it gets to the knockout, 100%.
Yeah, just going on what Dej was saying, I found something interesting as well. I was listening to LFC TV Go or whatever the hell it's called, and Trent was given a post-match interview from the Sheffield game, and he mentioned that the players are starting to feel like they're coming into their fitness right now, so they think they can go on a little bit of a run. So, I mean, I think hopefully that Villa game is kind of what spurred that too, for that extra motivation, and as well as the Merseyside derby. So, I mean, now that the fitness is coming along, injuries are starting to alleviate a little bit. So I think from here, we just keep building and building and building until that City game, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, that City game, man, especially since it's at City, if we can come away with 3 points there, I think it's just going to be a similar reaction to how we've played after that Villa game. It's just going to propel us forward and just give us that strength of knowing, like, even without Van Dijk, you can't beat us. So that's going to be massive going forward. But, to close it out, I really just want to kind of tackle, the thing that we've been kind of skirting the entire time. What do you guys think is going to be the starting lineup?
I would go with Alisson in goal. Milner left back, Gomez and Fabinho centre back, Nico Williams right midfield, Henderson in the middle with, I think, Curtis Jones, and I think there'll be another central midfield. I think Klopp will go for a 4-3-3. So maybe Wijnaldum. So Wijnaldum, Curtis Jones, Henderson, and I think the front three that came on in the second half of the Ajax game. So Shaqiri, Jota, and Minamino.
Should be enough to get the 3 points. I'm gonna go slightly different than that. So I think it's gonna be Alisson in that. I got Nico at right back, the Gomez Fabinho partnership, but I do think Robertson's gonna end up starting there if Tsimikas isn't healthy. I think Milner will be in the double pivot. They'll give Henderson a rest as he's still getting up to fitness. So I think it'll be the midfield three, if you want to call it, would be Milner, Wijnaldum, Curtis Jones. And I think one of Mane or Salah will start. I'm not sure which one, but because you got to remember we have 5 subs in the Champions League, so that's gonna matter. I wouldn't be surprised if Salah starts with Minamino and Jota, something like that.
I'm going to go for a span in the wings. I think he might rest Gomez and play Williams, Nico, the other Williams kid.
Reece Williams, yeah.
Yeah, Reece Williams. I think he might, because he scored over the weekend, and he did come on for the last 10 minutes against the Ajax.
He won every ball as well.
Yeah. And I think he might rest Gomez and play him. Otherwise, I think he'll probably have to play Robert left back. Trent, Alisson in goal. Then I'll go for Milner. I think Ginny will play. I think he'll probably start Jones again. I'm not going for 4-3-1. I think he'll go 4-3-3. And then he will go probably Jota, Minamino, and Shaqiri. I don't think he'll play any of the other ones tomorrow night.
I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I think Alisson obviously in goal. He needs some minutes. I think he starts Trent, and I think he starts Gomez and Fabinho with Milner on the left. I think adding Reece or Nico, it might be tough on them if that would just give an opportunity for Midtjylland or whatever the hell they're called. I can't do it. It might just give them an opportunity, a little glimmer of hope, and that's not really what we want, especially against a pacey winger like Dej was mentioning. But in the midfield, I think it's Henderson, Curtis Jones, and Genie. I think he sticks with that. And then like Wahomey said, Minamino, Shaq, and Jota. That's awesome. That's a great front three.
A lot of diversity. Like it. What'd you say?
Predictions.
Oh, predictions. I'm gonna say. I might be getting cocky here, but I think it's gonna be 5-0. We're at home.
I'm gonna go 4-1. I think they score.
I'm gonna go 3-0. 3-0.
4-0.
All right.
Does Bobby get a goal? Wahomey?
Bobby's not starting tomorrow night, so he's not going to see a score. If he was playing, I would say Bobby would score.
I don't know how many episodes that you've seen, but me and Wahomey pretty much every episode say that Bobby's going to score, and then of course the one time we say he's not going to score, he scores. So
yeah, Sheffield United. It's Sod's law, isn't it? That's the way it works.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be an interesting one tomorrow. And also shout out to all the Liverpool fans out in the UK who donated money to the food bank instead of doing the pay-per-view. Over £100,000 are raised. So props to all of you guys. That's awesome. And we have to stream it in America too because we don't do that Peacock bullshit. That's dumb. But no, it's props to you guys for doing that. It's a really cool thing to see. And shout out to Marcus Rashford as well for being a good man. But that pretty much wraps up this episode of Gangs of the Cop. But Dej, thank you so much for coming on, man. And yeah, you're a great guest. We definitely want to have you on again.
No problem. Anytime. I love what you guys are doing. These collaborations need to be happening much more often because you guys provide a different perspective and we just mesh it together and we get some good content, and that's what it's about.
Damn right. It's almost as beautiful as your podcast, The Beautiful Game. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please go ahead, check out the Beautiful Game podcast. I promise you will not be disappointed. On our side, please go ahead and give us another like and hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you guys. But otherwise, let's get 3 more points, stay top of the table, and up the Reds, baby. We'll see you later this week.
Cheers.
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 Cheers, guys.